Okay, so, when you think about border security and law enforcement, it's complicated, right? I mean,
Yep.
you've got federal agencies, local communities, and people moving all around.
Yeah.
It makes for, like, a really interesting dynamic to unpack.
Yeah, no, for sure. And in that kind of environment, it makes sense that you see laws that try to address like really specific things, issues popping up,
Totally. And that brings us to what we're looking at today. We're doing a deep dive into House Bill H.R. 35, the Agent Raul Gonzalez Officer Safety Act.
Right.
And we're going right to the source, like the engrossed version of the bill itself.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Exactly. So engrossed just means like this is the final version that's passed one part of Congress is now going to the other.
Yep.
What we're trying to do here is figure out what this law is all about, like what's it really trying to do, and then what could happen. Like how could this change things at the border and with immigration?
Exactly. Those are the big questions.
So let's start with the name. Agent Raul Gonzalez Officer Safety Act. It's pretty clear they're concerned about keeping law enforcement safe.
For sure. And the goal, like the big thing they're going for, is to make it a crime and also have consequences for people who are here on, immigration status if they try to run away from a federal officer in a vehicle, like if they're being chased.
Okay, so let's talk about like the actual crimes and stuff. Section 2 is where it gets pretty specific. They're actually making a whole new part of the law, Title 18, Section 40B, and they call this evading arrest or detention while operating a motor vehicle. It's like a whole new thing.
Right. And one thing that stands out there is where this applies. It's all about that 100-mile zone around any U.S. border, whether it's land or sea. If someone's driving in that area and they like take off when a Border Patrol agent is trying to, legally stop them. So it's like they're creating a huge deterrent, right? I mean, car chases are dangerous for everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not just the officers, but the person running and anyone else around.
That's exactly.
Everyone. And it's super important that it says intentionally fleeing. Like, it's not just someone who maybe didn't see the lights or freaked out for a second.
Right. It has to be on purpose. Like, they're choosing to run. It's not just an accident or them being confused or whatever.
That makes sense.
And it goes beyond just Border Patrol, too. If other law enforcement, could be federal, state, or local, are helping out the Border Patrol, like if they're all working together on something and there's this chase, then this new law would apply there, too.
So it's not just about, like, dodging one specific type of officer.
Right. It's about the bigger picture of like evading lawful authority in that border zone.
Okay, so let's say someone does this. What happens to them? Like, what are the penalties?
Okay, so basically, if they're found guilty of this new crime, they could be looking at up to 2 years in prison plus fines or both.
Okay.
So, it's serious.
But it gets worse, right? Like, if someone gets hurt or, God forbid, dies.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone gets seriously hurt because of this chase, the penalties get way more severe. We're talking like at least 5 years in prison, maybe even up to 20 years, plus fines on top of that.
Wow.
So you can see how concerned they are about the danger of these chases,
Yeah.
And then, sadly, these things sometimes end in the worst way.
Yeah.
And the law takes that really, really seriously. If someone dies because of this, because the person was trying to get away from law enforcement, then we're talking at least 10 years in prison, maybe even life, plus huge fines. It's like they're really hammering home how big of a deal this is, the potential cost, like the human cost.
Yeah, it's definitely heavy stuff.
It is.
Now, there's also this thing about a clerical amendment. What is that?
Yeah, that's more of a technicality, but it's important. Basically, they're updating the index, the table of contents for that part of the law to include this brand new Section 40B. So it's all organized and officially part of federal criminal law.
Okay, so that's the criminal stuff. But like we said earlier, this bill isn't just about that, right? It's also changing immigration law.
Big time. Section 3 is where they get into that, and it's all about adding new stuff to the Immigration and Nationality Act. They're focusing on who can even come into the U.S. and who can be deported, like who gets kicked out.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, like who might not be allowed in anymore? What's changing there?
Okay, so they're adding this whole part to Section 212A2 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. And it basically says that if you're not a citizen and you've been convicted of this new crime, or you admit you did it, or even if you just say you did the things that make up this crime, you're banned from the U.S.
So just admitting it is enough?
Yeah, basically.
Huh. I wonder, could that be a problem? Like, what if someone is pressured to confess? or if they just don't understand what they're admitting to.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's a good point. It definitely covers a lot, not just convictions, but anything that looks like the crime.
Yeah, okay. So then there's the part about who can be deported. What's going on there?
Well, it's kind of similar. They're adding a new part to Section 237A2, and it's pretty much the same idea.
Okay.
If you're not a citizen and you get convicted, admit to it, or even just admit to the actions that make up this crime, then boom, you can be deported.
So even if you're already here, you can get kicked out for this.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. For individuals and families, that's huge.
Yeah. And it doesn't stop there. This bill goes on to make a whole new part of the Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 208A. They call it ineligibility for relief related to evading arrest or detention while operating a motor vehicle. Like, what does that even mean?
Well, it's basically saying that if you're a non-citizen and you've done this whole evading arrest thing, then you can't get any help from, like, almost any immigration law.
So, like, asylum.
Yeah, especially asylum under Section 208.
Yeah.
Like, let's say someone is fleeing some really bad situation and they would normally qualify for asylum in the U.S., right? But if they got caught up in this whole evading arrest thing, even if they had a really good reason, they could be totally barred from getting asylum.
Wow. So no matter what's going on, if you do this, you're basically on your own.
Pretty much. It's a pretty high bar.
Okay, so this bill is serious business.
Yeah.
Got the criminal penalties and then these immigration consequences that are pretty hard to get around.
Yeah, no sugarcoating it.
Now, there's also this part about reporting every year. What's that all about?
Okay, so in Section 4, they're saying that the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, they got to work together and send a report to Congress every year. They have to tell the judiciary committees in both the Senate and the House all about how this new law is working out.
Okay, so they're keeping tabs on it, basically.
Exactly, making sure it's doing what it's supposed to.
And what exactly do they have to put in this report?
So, first off, they got to say how many people total were caught breaking this new law, Section 40BA. Then they have to break it down further, like how many were officially charged with the crime, how many were caught but not charged, and even, get this, how many probably did it but were never caught.
Wait, how do they know that last part? Like, if they didn't catch them?
Well, it's probably a lot of, data and guesswork.
Yeah, I guess so.
But they're trying to get the full picture, And the report also has to say what punishments the prosecutors wanted and then what actually happened, like what sentences the judges gave out. So Congress can see how it's all playing out in the real world,
Right. Like, is it actually doing what they wanted it to do? Okay, so just to wrap it all up, H.R. 35, the Agent Raul Gonzalez Officer Safety Act, is making it a federal crime to run from a federal officer in a car, like within 100 miles of the border. And if someone gets hurt or dies because of that, the punishments get way worse. And then there's the whole immigration part, like you could be banned from the U.S., deported, or even blocked from getting asylum.
You got it.
And on top of that, they're going to keep track of it all and report back to Congress every year.
That's the gist of it.
So it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. This bill could have a big impact on border security and how they enforce immigration laws.
Yeah, and for you listening out there, think about this. What do you think is supposed to happen because of this law? Like, what's the goal? And then what about stuff they maybe didn't think of? Like, what could happen that they didn't plan for? And this whole thing, it brings up some even bigger questions, right? Like, how do we balance keeping people safe with, like, basic fairness and making sure everyone has rights? It's a lot to unpack.
Definitely a lot to unpack.
So yeah, think about that.